Well, the vote poses an interesting problem for UKIP because we don't want a European budget at all. So we don't want to support the Commission's proposal for a budget for 6 years. And the Parliament also rejects the Commission's budget. But the Parliament actually wants a higher budget. So we don't want to vote for that position either. And I think at the end of the day, we have to come down on voting against the Parliament report. So that means, in effect, we support the lower figure from the Commission rather than nothing. We prefer to have no European Union budget at all, but our only choice is between a higher figure and a lower figure. The Parliament report, though, also calls for more spending on their pointless and worthless climate and energy policies. It calls for more own resources, in other words, for Europe-wide taxes. It calls for the proceeds of the proposed financial transaction tax to be passed to the European Union, not to the member states. And it incidentally, and this is very interesting for Brits, it calls for an end to all budget rebates for member states, which would mean, of course, an end to the British rebate, which I believe is the largest one currently in place. So for all those reasons, we in UKIP have to oppose this proposal. We'd rather have no budget at all, but given the choices between a higher budget and a lower budget, we need to vote for the lower budget. So now we're in a position where the taxpayer out there has to pay vast sums to rescue the euro. I have to tell you, if you go to British voters, and actually I suspect German voters too, and say you must now pay enormous taxes to rescue the euro, they'll send you away with a flea in your ear. No, if you want a United States of Europe to be comparable to the United States of America, then you would need the same sort of budget. But we don't want that sort of Europe, and we don't want that sort of budget. In terms of economic theory, if you are prepared to make massive fiscal transfers, not on an emergency basis, not as a bailout, but week by week, month by month, year by year, forever, then you could save it. But I stress that's in economic terms. In democratic terms, neither the German taxpayer nor the British taxpayer nor any other taxpayer, I should think, is prepared to pay for it. So it won't work democratically, even if it would work economically. Yes, we've always been amazed looking at it from a British perspective. We can see what's wrong with the European project. We can see what's wrong with the euro currency. Why can't the Germans see it? This is a question we've asked ourselves. Why, in many major continental countries, there is nothing that resembles a Eurosceptic movement? Now, of course, in Germany, it looks as though there is quite a serious effort to set up a Eurosceptic party. I hope and I expect that it will be very successful indeed. I understand that they don't want to leave the European Union, but really the worst thing probably about the European Union right now is the single currency. It's an absolute disaster. Even if you want to continue with the European Union, you should still close down the single currency because the European Union can't survive with the euro currency, in my view. We would like to see a Europe of independent, democratic nation-states trading freely and cooperating with each other, but cooperating on a voluntary basis. Now, that isn't on offer at the moment. I would like to think that maybe as the decades pass by, people will realise that that is a better model. But it isn't for us in Britain to tell the continent what to do. If they want to have political and monetary union, okay, they can do that. I think it's unwise, but it's their choice. For my country, I want to be an independent, sovereign, democratic nation. I want to be in a free trade agreement with Europe and with many other parts of the world. I want cooperation on a voluntary, intergovernmental basis, but I want it to be absolutely clear that we are a totally independent country with our own laws.